Hey guys, Thomas Asili Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to do a more formal review of Sonic Forces, the video game. If you saw my finale for Sonic Forces, I gave my quick thoughts on it on an overscale. And if you want to see the Let's Play as a whole, I'll link in the description the first part of the Let's Play, and you can see the rest of the Let's Play on the playlist at your leisure if you so choose to do so. But at the end, as I mentioned, I did do a more or less sort of review of the game, but I wanted to do a more formal version as I've done these video game reviews in the past. In fact, I believe the last one I did was about 2 years ago in 2016. So I thought I'd bring those back with the first game I finished officially on my rotating Let's Plays that I currently have racked up. And Sonic Forces was the first to have finished, besides Digimon World Dawn and Dusk, which is going to have a very special review because it's competing against another video game that I am playing, Pokemon Sun and Moon. So that's why I'm holding off on that review. It's going to be a back and forth review. So to get into Sonic Forces, this is going to be a spoiler review if that's even a thing that can be in Sonic Forces. The first part I'm going to be talking about is the so-called story of this game. So, in the story of Sonic Forces, Sonic is at first captured, and it is up to create your own character, insert character here, whatever you want to call your character. I'll just say OC protagonist. It is up to whoever you create to help save Sonic and then fight back against Infinite, Dr. Eggman, and the other forces that Infinite brings in along the way, as much as there aren't that many. Nonetheless, the story gets a little bit incoherent at times. As the story progresses, there are definitely parts that just don't add up, as I mentioned, and other reviewers have mentioned as well. The inconsistency within the writing is just not present. And if the defense of that is, well, it's a Sonic game, the story isn't what the forefront of the, thing should be. I mean, look what Sonic Mania was able to do with less of a story. It was able to build more of a story than Sonic Forces without any dialogue. So that should tell you that no, that's not an excuse. Sonic Forces had all the capability and the bigger, more official team behind it, and they created the worst game of the two. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the story of Sonic Forces is a kind of a fall apart story. It's not coherent. It doesn't flow naturally. It just sort of rumbles together and gets very repetitive as the game goes on how long it shows you to hold on to, like, this whole versus against Infinite with the amount of times you fight him and whatnot. So that is the story in a nutshell, just to overcap that. The next thing I wanted to talk about in this review, since it is a part of the video game, is the whole create your own character aspect, and it's piss poor at best. The options for your head to your ears and eyes, you get like 3 options each, which is absolutely pathetic on their end. And no, the amount of animals do not save that, by the way. I mean, for goodness sakes, Sonic is the character, he has the one eye thing going on. You don't even have that option, which is kind of baffling to me, since a lot of characters in the Sonic universe have that, including Sonic himself. Including that, it doesn't even have a resize option. There's no sizing your character, it's just a lanky, tall character that you can't even resize. So to me, the creating aspect is not even complete, and that is the way they decided to pull out their package, is having an incomplete create your OC here. And I'm not very sure why they did this, but for, say, if you want to clothe your OC, they have unlockables as you run through the game. However, some of the unlockables are the same type of t-shirt, but just in a different color. Instead of just doing one shirt of that variant and just having the color wheel available, it just doesn't add up. Why wouldn't you just do the color wheel for that t-shirt and allow creators of their OCs to have even more variety instead of less? It doesn't make any sense. Nonetheless, the creative aspect is very lackluster here in Sonic Forces, and that was one of the main drives of the video game, was you being able to insert your character into the game. And yes, they included free DLC for one meme. Whoop-de-doo. That didn't really save much of the lackluster options available in Sonic Forces. It just showed that they were aware. They just wanted to take it and use it and be on their way and say, hey, look, we're hip, we're cool, right? No. You had a long way to go and you fucked up pretty bad. But moving right along from that, let's talk about one of the most important aspects to me in a video game, gameplay. Now, for the most part, it does generally run pretty good, and its pacing is also pretty good, with the exception of a few minor hiccups here and there. That kind of completely always kind of happens in the same sort of areas. Now, if you've seen my Let's Play, and I'm going to go back to that in right now, but if you've seen it, quite a few parts, there were parts where I was complaining about how the lock-on system wasn't always there, how it was not consistent, how I had to fall off of a stage because of the lock-on system not doing its job, to other stages that were just utter garbage messes, and I'll get to the stages more in depth right after this. But it kind of goes hand in hand with the gameplay, so I guess I will talk about it right now as well. But for the most part, the boosting aspect and the homing aspect, they, depending on the stage, they either run really well or they work against you in certain stages. And I'll give you an example right now due to one of the stages. One of the stages doesn't have a side railing, so if you boost at the wrong time, you will completely boost off of the stage, just as an example. And I've done it quite a few times. On top of that, some of the stages are also really just hard to control overall. One of the more infamous stages, especially for me, is that water stage, which you had to complete a number of, I believe it was 3 times in total. One is the Shadow, if you got that, which, it was free, so I assume everyone who got it got the pre-story stuff with Shadow. There was one with him, there was one with the OC, and there was one with the current Sonic, I believe, if I remember that correctly. Or maybe there might not have been one with the OC, I forget. It was either 2 or 3. Regardless, that's already too many times. And they add on top of that, if you really want to get the full Sonic Forces experience, you had the Special Ring collection. And there is the number rings, which you had to collect in order. There were the moon rings, which you had to collect really quickly. And then there was another set of rings, the red rings, which is to just collect them at your leisure. So there's another additional 3 times to play it, and how many retries you have to do in order to get those precisely, especially the moon based ones, which are speed based, and the time ones in case you miss one of the time numbers from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And all those did, by the way, is only unlock more stages and maybe a weapon, which is kind of pointless, and exceptionally from time to time. It would also unlock a few costumes, but other than that, the mechanic of these extra rings and bonus stages were completely unnecessary and a complete waste of time. And kind of going and backtrack with the story, it just sort of slows the pace down of the story and could have been used to build better stages, as these secret stages were probably the most challenging, but they were extraordinarily short. You could have fleshed those out and made them more official stages and just made those stages that were completely baffling, like the water stage, more compelling and more, you know, have the platforming build off of that instead of work against the stage and the player being aggravated at the what is going on currently. Uh, and let's talk about this title and its why. Obviously, Sonic Forces implies that there's a multitude of forces at work, and all you get to do from that angle is play as the three characters, that being Sonic, the OC, and classic Sonic from Sonic Mania, the much better game, obviously. Even I haven't even played it yet, and I already know it's better than Sonic Forces. So you can yell at me for not playing Sonic Mania and complain that I didn't play it, but regardless, I already know it's better from what I've just seen from the game, so there's that. So anyways, getting back to this game, Sonic Forces, you know, Sonic, as in the more 3D versions of Sonic, or at least the ones I've played, have all been kind of more experimental, from Sonic Heroes and the Trifecta group thing that they had going on, to the Sonic Night games, I forgot what those were officially called, to Sonic turning into a werewolf thing. You know, these more experimental titles, and I thought this was going to join that aspect, being like, oh, when Tails talks about hacking, like there would be like a section where you control Tails and you'd be hacking something, or like you control Knuckles and then you'd be doing more aggressive stuff, like more akin to working as a full force, implying what the title is giving, and actually working together in that way to defeat Eggman. But no, you only control the three characters, and the rest of the characters said, hey, I did a thing, yippee, and it kind of just skims over that as far as the story goes, and it leaves a lot of the characters who are saying they do stuff kind of in the winds of just why are they even there. Like Silver, for instance, is always like, oh, I'm doubtful, but yeah, I'm helping, but he doesn't do anything in the video game except stand there and say stuff. Like, what? You could have taken him out of the video game and nothing would change. So that could very well apply to some of the various other characters as well. In fact, you could probably take out most of the characters in this game and still have the same output. The only characters that seem to have any impact on the story is Sonic, the OC, classic Sonic, and maybe Tails, question mark? I mean, he does hide and be a coward a lot, but he does say he hacked something at some point, so maybe that's his contribution to the story, but I'm not even necessarily sure if that was necessary. Again, there's a lot of telling us that stuff is happening and not showing us that stuff is happening in the game. But, games have the ability to show and to tell simultaneously. That's something that games have to their advantage, and it doesn't take advantage of any of it. It just kind of says, we did a thing. It doesn't allow us to see it. Any of it. So let's talk about one of the other issues about the story. Let's talk about our antagonist, Infinite, who you approximately fight 3 to 4 times in the video game. His dialogue is as piss poor as the rest of the dialogue, and comes across as absolutely insane. Like, this guy's always saying, like, oh, you never defeated me, even though you already in the game have defeated him twice. And he's saying, like, to Eggman, like, you've been defeated, how shameful of you, but I've already been defeated twice. And it's like, there are just so many weird things about this questionable character. Like, his design in general is one of them. Why does he wear a mask? That part is not explained in the backstory. It's not explained in the main story. The only thing I know about him is that he's apparently a jackal. That's the only thing I know about him, other than his edgy attitude. We don't know why he wears a mask. It's kind of just thrown in the air, like, ugh. Just take your best guess on that one, because the game isn't going to tell you even that. So the game can't, for a thing that does a lot of show, I mean, not, the whole not show and tell or whatever, it doesn't even tell you everything you need to know. It leaves stuff out that you should be knowing. All the exposition is in the wrong place. There should be some stuff there for the villain as well, and not just for our heroes that is inconvenient and confusing. So even our main villain, quote-unquote, gets shafted for Dr. Eggman, whose plan is absolutely insane. He creates this sun, which, by the way, is apparently real, and, the whole real versus not real thing, it's stupid and confusing. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that it is real, right? He puts a sun up there as this real illusion, I'll just call it that, as confusing as that sounds, up towards them, and he's counting down to send the sun towards them, and he just waits there as he counts down to 0. So, was his plan to, like, commit suicide in order to kill everyone? Like, was that his plan? Like, is that how he wanted to go out? Like, what was happening there? He didn't really think things through. In fact, a part of me almost feels like since he already counted down to 1 and it actually essentially hit 0, and then the OC comes in, my instinct tells me that he kind of wanted to be stopped. Like, a part of me almost feels like that, but again, the game doesn't even do a good job of explaining, like, why that would be the case. And I think there could have been a compelling story to that, and kind of a sad one, too, if they really, if they were smart about it. They could have really went somewhere with that, and they completely missed the mark. On top of that, we have a retread of bosses from Metal Sonic, that being the overgrown fight of Metal Sonic, and then Infinite, who does a stage of that very same caliber. It's just a refight with a different color character doing the same exact thing, which completely negates 2 other fights within the story context, that being Chaos and Shadow, that being the fake versions of those 2 respectively. They get defeated in story, and you don't even get to fight them in the game. That's 2 boss potentials you completely threw out for more Infinite. One of those versions of Infinite is just a copy of Metal Sonic. It's kind of pointless when you think about it from that point of view. But, the other versions of Infinite, when you do fight him, are okay, I guess. And some of the, again, controls lend toward, at least for me, toward the last boss, which is Dr. Robotnik, kind of get a little bit flustering. If you saw that finale, and even the previous part to that, me kind of struggling to understand, like, the timing of it all, and getting squished and jumping off of the platform completely and doing a different variant number of things, failing that final boss. But in the end, Sonic Forces is a game I can't recommend. and I'm pretty sure others have already done the same. In fact, this review is obviously a little bit outdated in accordance to when this game came out, but I figured better late than never. And with that being said, I would score this game a very low 3 out of 10. And the reason I'm giving it a 3 out of 10 is because there are some good stages here for a Sonic game. There are really good stages. In fact, again, if you watch my Let's Play, I pretty much mark out whenever there is a good Sonic stage. I go, huh, that's a pretty good Sonic stage. It was well paced. The platforming is really good. It felt very classic Sonic, even when it was new Sonic. The boosting came in when it needed to, and it didn't, like, fail me at any point in time. It was just nice and smooth and felt like how it should have. Those are really, really good. Those are the best parts of the game, in fact. But having to replay those stages got a little bit wary on even me, even for those good Sonic stages. And other than those very few good Sonic stages, some of the dialogue is a bit funny, I guess, if you just go from that point of view. But other than that, this game isn't really that good, unfortunately. And, I think how this game could have improved is taking more from what apparently a fan was able to do, and whoever currently says a fan, there's the saying of, like, oh, if you're a fan of something, you should never be the one to, like, create something because you'll fail, or whatever the saying is, like, about that. I say bullshit. I've said bullshit for years about this now, and I'm gonna stick by that if people can continue to prove that wrong. Sonic Mania was a perfect example of proving that wrong. Proving that, the saying, I just remembered it. The saying is, fans don't know what they want. And I say bullshit to that. Fans can sometimes know exactly what they want, and Sonic Mania is the perfect example of that. A fan knew what he wanted, he created it, and it was way better than Sonic Forces. A fan was able to beat out an official game from the official company. That is when fans know what they want and are able to execute on that. So if you're a fan of something, don't be afraid to go out there and do, that thing, that game, about that thing you love. Because sometimes you never know. You could create the next Sonic Mania. You never know. Like, I applaud whoever was able to put that together. So congratulations on that. And as far as Sonic Forces is concerned, if they do want to learn from this experience, then hopefully the people at Sonic team are listening to this review and take this last part to heart. Remember that there are other parts of Sonic, and parts that are more devised, sure, like the comic book, just as an example. But just because it's, torn apart by these different variations between the comic and the games and the TV shows and all that stuff, it doesn't mean you can't still take inspiration from them. I do believe that. I do believe that they could take more from the comic book, just as an example, and look at the stories they've been able to create there and really put something together to create a very fleshed out story. And I do believe one of the story is something that holds this game back from being really good. So let's talk about that first. I do believe that if they had focused on something like one of my favorite characters, like I made him on the poster of my thumbnail, King Scourge, as an example. If the story kind of followed an upbringing of that, something a bit more dark, sure, but Sonic's handled dark well before. And I think it could do a good follow-through, and I do think Scourge is a very fascinating villain. So I do think something like that could have worked very well for the future of Sonic, even though that is in the past. I do think, again, because Sonic Mania is literally a blast from the past with some new stuff added into it. So there you go. It could very well work out in Sonic team's favor if they did do that. Um, and as far as the OC thing was concerned, obviously they needed a lot more time to put into that because the options that they gave the OC were very limiting and kind of confined players more than allowed them the liberty to create what they wanted to. So there's that as well. Adding more features to a game where there's, original content to be held there. As far as the stages are concerned, never ever, 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 ever do a water slide stage ever again. That is my advice for the stages. Don't do that ever again. Railings, and just as an added function for gameplay, create a instant stop sign of stop ability, like from when you're boosting, for example, like being able to stop from a boost, stand still, like if you're seeing yourself boost and you're seeing yourself come close to the edge, for example, and there's no railing there, have there be an ability to instantly stop. And I'm pretty sure I've seen Sonic do this in the show a few times, like he's running and then he comes to a complete stop, and then to be able to shift your boost into a different direction. That would help boosting immensely in a future video game, is the ability to instantly stop even if you're at the edge of something and redirect and reboost in another direction. So there you go. There's my advice for boosting in the future. And as far as other things you could add as far as mechanics, why can't Sonic run uphill walls yet? I mean, for goodness sake, Lilac can do that from Freedom Planet, and that came inspired from Sonic, so maybe Sonic should learn from Freedom Planet and add that into the game finally. Be able to run up the curved hill all the way up instead of having to run into a ball and then do it. Just a little added thing that I think would make Sonic a more accessible platformer. But for now, again, my score is 3 out of 10. And again, the link in the description will head you over to the first part of my Let's Play of Sonic Forces if you do want to see that in its entirety. But for now, that is my review of Sonic Forces. And there will be more reviews of video games coming out in the near future when I do complete the video games. I'm not going to rush any of them. I'm going to keep cycling through. So there is going to be quite a few more reviews to come in the future. If you are subscribed to my channel already, you will know what those games are. But if you are new, then consider subscribing. Also, do the regular other thing in that of the liking and commenting. Again, I always look forward to seeing what other people write, and so on and so forth. So yes, that is the very typical like, comment, and subscribe. Also, on the link in the description just beneath the Let's Play will be my link to my Patreon page, and any donations there will be greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, this has been Thomas D'Souza Jr., aka Mustache Tom, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!